Hi, in this video we're going to be changing the oil and the filter in this petrol engined Ford Mondeo Mk3 from 2001 to 2007. It's the 1800 LX version. Right, so it's time to do an oil change in this Mondeo. This is the sort of job you can do at home yourself. You may need a jack and maybe an axle stand just to get the car up in the air, to gain access to the filter from the front of the car, from underneath the front of the car, and also to undo the sump plug. We'll show you that in a second. But first of all, this takes 4.3 litres of 5W30 oil, which I've got here, and the oil filter, which is also situated right in the front of the engine, is a basic canister one, as you can see there. This one comes from Halfords. It's an HOF 307, and as I say, this is for the 1.8 Duratec engine, and this is the LX version. So first things first, I'm going to be getting the car up in the air, cracking the nut for the drain plug on the back of the sump, and we'll also take the filter out. So let's go and do that now. Right, okay, then let's take you under the front of the car so you can see exactly what I've done there. And as you can see, I've jacked the car up on one side here, just so that I can get an axle stand underneath that front subframe there, and that gives me enough space to be able to crawl underneath to actually get to the rear nut there, which on my model is a 13mm socket. And if you look just up there at the front, just behind the radiator here, there is the actual oil filter as well. So I've just cracked the nut there, as you can probably see, for the sump plug, and I'm removing that, and I've got a bowl here ready. And as I say, really you need to jack this car up in the air like this, because you just can't get underneath it on the normal flat ground. So I'm just going to undo this sump bowl now, hoping I don't get covered in oil. So let's just undo it there. As I say, I've actually run the car and warmed it up first, so let's pull that out. There we go. And as you can see now, we've got our oil which is running in, so I'm just going to let that unload into the bowl that I've got there. So let's just let that drain out, and then we'll tackle this oil filter next. There we go, that's the nut cleaned up, and as you can see there, it's got a rubber washer insert there on the inside. So if this showed any signs of leaking, we would have to change that, but it's okay in this situation, so we're going to leave well alone. Right, okay, so that's all the oil drained out now. Just going to clean that off a little bit and replace the drain plug in the hole. Let's do that up. Don't forget to put this back in, people, otherwise when you fill your oil up, you're going to have a big puddle of oil under the car. So I'm just going to replace that now. I'm keeping my bowl under the car because I want to keep that for when I take the oil filter out. So let me just move that towards the back for a minute. There we go, I'm happy with that. Now, to remove this oil filter, I've got one of these chain oil filter removers. There's different ways you can do it, and all you basically do is you wrap these around the oil filter, put it around it, and you tighten it up, put in your socket, like this, and that then tightens around the filter, and I should be able to turn and undo that oil filter, which I've just done there. Right, and that's one of those chain filters. Quite a simple thing to operate, and only cheap as well. So I'm going to bring the bucket back underneath, because don't forget this will be full of oil as well. And I'm going to try and keep my hands out of the way while I lower this, because again, we don't really want to get covered with oil if we can help it. And so you'd really struggle to do this if you didn't have the car up in the air like I've got here. So we just let that run through for a minute. There we go. Don't forget, it's still full of fluid, but I'm just going to turn it out now with a piece of cloth around it, just to soak up the rest of that oil. And just turn it, and as you can see, turn it into the bucket, and that just saves you getting it all over the floor, as you can see. just to make sure there's no debris on our sealing edge, because that's the sealing edge that for the new filter. So I'll just push that oil to the back now, and I've got the new oil here, the new oil filter. So it's also a good idea to fill up your new oil filter with oil just before you put it in. So let's just do that now anyway. Right, okay then, so let's now put this on the car. I'm just going to run some oil around the actual edge of the filter, like that, and screw this back in place. So get a good grip on it. I'll put a bit of cloth around it and I'll give it a good turn. Ah, there we go. And just give it a wipe over, just to keep the area clean. There we go. That's it. So I can now get the car back on level ground by just jacking it up, removing the actual stand, removing the bowl, and let's put that back down on the ground so that we can fill the oil up. Right then, this vehicle takes 4.3 litres of 5W30 oil. So we're just going to remove the oil filler cap now. Give that a wipe down. Get yourself a funnel because you don't want to be making a mess. Whack that in there. And let's start to put the oil in. This is a 5 litre container, so I'm going to put most of it in and then play it by ear. So right, let's try that dipstick again. Get it down, put it out. Right, we're just probably about a third of the way up there on that mark there, so I'm just going to put a bit more in, because although we've filled the oil filter up, it might still need a little bit more. So I'm just going to go for that, and don't forget, we don't want to overfill this. So let's call it there for the moment. Right, that is right on the top. I don't know if you can probably see that. I'm basically on the top line there. If you can see that glistening. So that is perfect. So what I'm going to do now is put the cap back on, check for leaks underneath, start the car up, run it for a second, and then recheck the dipstick because it might have sunk down a little bit. So we're going to do that now. There we go. And I'm just going to have a quick look underneath to see if there's any oil leaks. Right, so I'll run my hand all the way around the oil filter just to make sure none was coming out. Let's just have a recheck of this now, in case it's dropped down again. Yep, there we go. Just on the top line now, so I'm happy with that. So there you go. That's how you change the oil and filter on a Mk3 Ford Mondeo. Petrol engine. This is the Duratec engine in this one. And hopefully that will save you a bit of money by instead of taking it to a garage. Thanks very much. I hope you enjoyed this video. Bye for now.